Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be using a thing called Anvil. Now you may have used a thing called tkinter in the past, and you're absolutely welcome to keep using this in your development work, but I think that this one's really good because it's web based and it's very powerful. Now it's not particularly intuitive, and that's why I'm going to walk you through this one today where we're going to build a short game. So let's have a quick look at that. Here we are on the Anvil website. If you just search for Anvil Python, you will find this, and you can sign in using your school's account, just like I have done up here, just by pressing Google, and that will get you straight in. There are all sorts of amazing things you can do with this, that it sort of walks you through setting up an online shop, or a survey, or bookings, or news aggregators, and all sorts of really very clever things. But we're just going to start from scratch and build something very simple. So we're going to click on Blank App, and I'm going to pick one of these designs. It actually doesn't really matter which one. I wouldn't start from your own HTML unless you're particularly confident in that. But here's our page so far. And if I just run this, you will see that it loads up my page, which has precisely nothing going on. But it loads. So in the Design tab, I'm basically getting it to write the HTML for me. In the Coding tab, we're writing Python. And when we're splitting it, you can see it on either side. Now I'm actually not going to split it, but you might choose to. I'm going to work in the individual tabs. So up here we've got drop title. Great. Well, I'm going to go over here to the toolbox, and I'm just going to get some display text and drop it in there. And you'll see it says label 1. And down here underneath it says name, label 1, and the actual text that will show. Well, I'm going to put in the text because we're making a number guessing game, which I think we've done before. Number guessing game, and that is going to show up there in self.label_1. So when I do that, you'll see that that value actually appears there, and I'm actually going to change the name of that. I'm going to change that to heading. So there we go. So now that's actually called self.heading, but the text value is the same. So there we go. Now let's have a look at our Python. As you can see, we've got a couple of imports here, and we're not going to touch those. And we've got a class coming in, and we've got a function here, which is the initialization, and that's setting up the form. So we're not going to change any of that. But what I am going to do is I am going to import the random library, because we're going to be picking a random number. And I'm going to select a random number, which I'm going to call mystery. And I'm going to say that mystery is using random, rand int, and I'm going to set it between 1 and, actually I was going to say 100, but I'm going to set it between 1 and limit. Now at the moment limit isn't a thing, so let's say that limit equals 100 so that I can easily go in and change this game when I want to. So it's between 1, and I'm just going to get it to put on the screen an alert. Now this is really a JavaScript function, but I'm going to get it to alert the value of mystery. So there you go. This program, A, should run. Yes, but it's got an error for me down here on line 3. So let's have a look at line 3. I wouldn't mind betting. Line 3, import.random. Good work, Mr. O'Mara. Let's try that again. There we go, and it generated me a random number. When I restart it, generates me a new random number. Great, so I know it can make a number. All right, let's go back and have another look at the code. So I'm going to leave that alert in there for now as a cheat, but I will take that out eventually. Okay, well, what I'd really like is an instruction for the user. So I'm going to put a text display up here, just there, and it's called label 1. And I'm going to call this one explain. So that's called explain. And I'm actually not going to have any content in it at the moment. And you'll see why in just a tick. So there it is. When I click on explain and I scroll down, it can actually have events that happen when particular things happen. So I'm going to say that when this is shown, it creates this event here. So def explain show. And it's called when it's shown on the screen. And that's going to happen right at the start. What I'm going to do is say that def dot, I think it's text, nope, explain text equals guess my number. So it's going to put that text in. It's going to run this function here as soon as that appears. So let's see if that works. 88, yep, and guess my number. Fantastic. Okay, now you're probably wondering why I'm bothering to do this when I could just put in the message that I wanted. Well, the reason is, guess my number, it is between 1 and then I put the variable, and the variable is limit. So when I change the limit, it's going to change it. Now that runs, and then it fails. Cannot concatenate string and integers. Well, we've seen this problem before. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to cast limit as a string. str, there we go. Oops. str, so I'm going to cast that as a string. And now when I run it, 98, guess my number, it is between 1 and 100. So we're actually able to have that versatility in the program by putting that limit in as a variable. Okay, so far so good. Now looking again at the design, let's give them a space to put the number in. So under explain, where it is, there you go, ahead of it I think. Yep. There you go, there's my text box. Now I'm going to change this and I'm going to call that guess. Actually, why don't I make that even clearer? I'm going to call it user guess. Now, I'm going to look down again, and this time I can actually say when enter. I could say when you change it, but I don't want it changing while I'm typing. So I'm going to make it when the person presses enter, it's going to run this function or subroutine. Okay, so let's just test this. When it runs that, I'm going to use an alert, and I'm just going to say pressed. There we go. Let's give it a run and see if it works. Yep, 54. Put it in there and I press enter. There we go, fantastic. So that worked. Okay, well let's do something with that. We actually want to collect the value from there. So let's say that user guess equals now self dot. Now what was that thing called again? Oh, it was called user guess dot text. I wonder what I do here. Let me just have a quick look at the snippets. User guess, it's telling me all the different things I can do here. Text displayed on this component. Okay. Well, I'm going to see if that works. I'm not 100% convinced it will, but let's try it. So there's my 44. Type in 50 and enter. You know what? At least nothing went wrong. So let's have a quick look at it. So if that's the case, then let's do an alert of that user guess, just to see if it really is collecting what I'm saying. So there's its 20. I type in 50. Ah, and it is in fact. So I did collect what they typed in there as a variable. Excellent. So now I've got a variable. Now it occurs to me that I probably need to make sure that I'm collecting that as an integer, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to do comparisons with it. So int, and I'm just going to run that again and make sure it works. Actually, I'll be interested to see 22. Oh no, I need to click on that. 22. Yep, that works. What happens if I put in help? Okay, so it errors out there because it was expecting an int. Well, that's something some of you can fix. Okay, so let's stop that. All right, so let's create another element here. This is just going to be a display. There you go, just down the bottom. And I'm going to call this one feedback. Terrific. So feedback, yep. And I'm not going to set off any events there. But back here, looking at my code, when I press it, this is where I'm going to do the testing of that number. So first things first, if user guess, and you'll see that it predictively populates some of that stuff. If the guess equals the mystery, yep, then we are going to change feedback. So self.feedback text equals, and I'll say, let me have a look. So user guess, don't worry about that, that's just my Google Home trying to have a conversation with you. User guess is the correct number. There we go. And because user guess is an int, I'm going to cast it as a string so that it can print alongside that other string. Alright, let's have a look at this and let's see me win this game. I've got an error there on line 21, bad input, okay? So, line 21, if user guess equals mystery. If it's equals mystery, I'm testing that. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, line 22, bad input. Okay, because I did not indent it. So let's just go back and fix up my indenting. I'm just going to run it back to the next line. Okay, oh well, like any sort of coding, we have hits and misses. So there's a 73. I'll just move myself out of the way there. Guess my number, 50. Okay, now this would help if I'd paid attention to what the number is. So my number is 9. I'm going to enter 9, hit enter, and it's going to tell me 9 is the correct number. Okay, so that works. Alright, let's go back to my code. So I've done one test to see if it's right, and what I'm going to do is copy that because I'm going to reuse it for my other tests. So copy, down here, let's have another test. Now you'll notice that my indenting here is out. So what I'm just going to do is go there and tab across the appropriate number of times so that it matches up. There we go. And I'll just make sure that that matches up. There we go. So if user guess is less than, then the message is lower than my number. There we go. And again, and then this time I might just type it myself actually. If user guess is greater than mystery, there we go. Then, and I really am just going to copy this one. Is higher. Okay, so let's run that. Stop and run. Here it is over here. I might just get myself out of the way. So it's 54. Well, let's guess 50. Lower. 70. Higher. 54. So we have a basically functional game here. You are going to add to it and make it more sophisticated, but we have made a working program here. I am going to do one thing just in the name of usability, in that I'm going to go back here, and after it has run all of the conditionals, I am going to get it to, let's see, self dot, don't think it's feedback I want to change. It's, what's it called? Import, user import. I'm going to have a quick look back here. Just see my design, user guess. Okay, so I'm going to change that so that the old guess disappears. User guess text equals, and I'm just going to zero it out so that it has nothing at all in between guesses. So 47, okay, 50, there you go, it's empty. 40, there we go, 45, 47. Okay, so that's my finished code, which I am going to put up for you so that you can have a good look at. But I'd like you to have a go at building this yourself, and then I'd like you to add some features to it, like your warm, or see if you can put in some graphics, or get it to restart the game. So build on it and get comfortable with using Anvil, because it's a good way of making a GUI, a graphical user interface, for a project like this.